Turkish-Syrian borders. And please don't deny the overflow of militants across your border. Is this deployment going to help stop it?
First of all, we have to be aware that there is one of the most destructive war continuing in Syria. In the last 3 years, 150,000 people being killed, millions are refugees, 700,000 of them are in Turkey, and this total casualty is much more than any war in the Middle East except Iranian-Iraqi war. More than 1948, 1967, 1973 wars, or more than Lebanese civil war.
It's the biggest humanitarian crisis.
Humanitarian crisis and security risk. And Turkey has 911-kilometer border. So we have, of course, we have to take certain caution on the border for our own national security. We have two priorities in Syria: our national security and humanitarian situation tragedy in Syria. About the radicalism on the border, Turkey never allowed any radical group to use our border or to get control on the other side of the border.
Where did they come from? They just appeared in Syria?
No, there are many other ways to come there. And in principle, as a policy, we want, again we underline, without any exclusion, Turkey wants all non-Syrians to leave Syria immediately today, Hezbollah or other radical groups. Syria should be left to Syrians only. There should not be experts from other states. There should not be any military assistance to the regime, which is becoming a killing machine. The military solution is not an option, we all agree. But who did start? We have to be objective. Who did start military solution against peaceful demonstrators in 2011 when there was no single Al-Qaeda or al-Nusra presence? For 10 months, there were peaceful demonstrations. The first armed group was formed by those generals of Syrian army who escaped from the army because of being instructed to attack against their own people. That was the nucleus of Free Syrian Army. And even in Geneva 1, 2012, June, there was no Al-Qaeda presence on the ground, maybe a few hundred al-Nusra. How did they come? Because of this mess created by the regime, and opposition doesn't have air force or Scud missiles or chemical weapons or barrel bombs. Military option has been started by Syrian regime, by choice, in order to create a mess, to claim that they are fighting against extremism. But our strategy as Turkey to protect our border, therefore we have, of course, military presence. We have to protect our border, but Turkey is a democratic country. If there is any movement on the border, inside or outside, on that, it is transparent. Nobody can hide. There is no single Turkish presence in Syria. And the second is humanitarian aspect. We open our border for refugees. We will continue to open. We spent around $3 billion in and on the border on the other side. We will do more because it is an ethical responsibility for international community and for neighboring countries, us. And one day, Syrian people will decide for their own future.
Mr. Haas, President Rouhani yesterday in his statement focused a lot on extreme. I don't want to change this discussion into discussing internal regimes in the Middle East. That's not the main point of our discussion, and they all have their own issues and faults, and the Middle East is far from democracy. Mr. Davutoğlu, let's talk on a positive note. If there are sanctions that are already being lifted, and you have trade relations with Iran, tell us how Turkey will benefit from a good relation with Iran, between the West and Iran, when it comes to the nuclear file.
Yes, Turkish-Iranian relations are historic relations. Our border has been the same for the last 350 years. So that border has been a border of stability and mutual interest of trade and all the business. Therefore, we try to do our best in order to solve this nuclear issue, in order to integrate Iran to international political economy, because that will be in the interest of everybody. I am sure all of you in this room remember, in this hall, in May 2010, we signed an agreement in Iran, Turkey, Brazil, and Iran in Tehran. And in that agreement, the nuclear issue was dealt directly, and it was a very concrete agreement. At that time, Iran didn't have 20% enriched uranium, MEU, and according to that agreement, we would have taken almost 70–80% of Iranian low-enriched uranium. Assume that if that agreement was respected and implemented, Iran, there wouldn't be any sanction right now, and Iran wouldn't have MEU, which is an issue of discussion today, and there would have been a huge confidence building between Iran and international community as well as in the region. But unfortunately, more sanctions being implemented rather than trying to use this opportunity, we missed 4 years. We were very happy because of the latest agreement, because we definitely want to have a new system here about nuclear issue. We have two principles as Turkey. One, there should not be any nuclear power in our region, neither Iran nor any other country, I mean also Israel or others who didn't declare anything on their capacity. Secondly, there should not be any limitation on developing nuclear technology as a source of energy. Based on these two principles and NPT regime, everything could be solved. We are very happy now that there is a new process Turkey will support. We wish to have that in the past. Another dimension, just to refer to